Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the ASUS ROG Dream League Season 3 coverage with myself and Draskell. We're ready to go into the first series of the day. It's Hellraisers versus Basically Unknown, Game 1. We're into the picks and bans. Bans so far, Troll and Sniper straight off the bat, and then the Zeus.
Zeus is a little interesting. I mean, it's one of those heroes that you want to ban when you have a Magnus player on your team. It's really great because Static Field is already 1200 range. It's really frustrating to try to get blinks off if you're going to be playing against that hero, and Hellraisers have probably run it in the past. I'm sure that FNJ has played it a handful of times, so not a bad ban. And it puts Hellraisers in an interesting situation because now they're going to let one of the high-tier heroes through no matter what. So if they ban Magnus, then that means that Wisp is in the pool, or they can just take out Bat and leave them both, which is something that some teams also prefer to do. Because if you leave both, you can't get both if your first pick, right?
It's true.
So if they take Wisp, then Hellraisers can pick, you know, whatever they want after that. And if Basically Unknown want to take Mag for a Rise just to make sure that they get it, then you leave Wisp open for the other team. But yeah, they're just going to take it straight up.
I'm talking about Rise. Do we know if one of those is a Rise? They've all got funny names.
Yeah, it's right here. He's orange.
Ah, yes, of course. Vegeta. I missed out the first Vegeta Rise.
He's a vegetable now.
I see.
Yes.
Well, hopefully he doesn't play like one. Tiny and IO, though, it doesn't matter if he does. It's pretty old standard combo, the old Tiny IO. You're going to do pretty well with that. Apart from when we saw, I know Burden United did win. They had a bad start with the Tiny IO, didn't they, yesterday, wasn't it? Burden United picked it up, if you remember, against
that was the game where he was like 0-6 or something like that.
Yes, it was the game where the
Axe
Axe got the Rampage, wasn't it? I believe.
Yeah, and he was getting like completely stomped on that game. Yeah, it wasn't great, but I think this time it's probably not going to be so bad. Hellraisers pick up a combo of heroes that work against each other if they're on different teams. So if Treant, for example, was on Basically Unknown, we talked about how Living Armor is always a super annoyance to any Storm. So they just pick both of the heroes up straight away and say, look, you're not going to be able to get that tree counter that is oh so annoying as our Storm, and we can just go for maybe the early Bloodstone. And if you were playing against Tree, I'd say Orchid is almost necessary just to make sure that you can kill. But if you don't have to worry about that, then you can make Bloodstone and it's fine. And I think that Hellraisers have seen the Wisp and the Tiny combo a few times already. So if they think it's going to be going mid, they can adjust accordingly to their draft and just pick like a Lich that we've seen is very common against that. Or they can just pick any nice ranged hero and you put your Storm with that hero, or you put the Storm safe lane and then just make sure something is strong enough against the Wisp and the Tiny to ensure that you're not just going to get steamrolled in that lane.
I mean, when you see a Wisp and Tiny picked up, do you instantly assume it is going to be in the mid lane, or can it very well work in both situations?
It seems to be the trend. You can put it in the safe lane. There's nothing wrong with that. And in the old times, people used to run it in the safe lane and have the Wisp just do stacking, and then you would clear the stacks later on. And that was back before, too, when you could pull middle lane as well. Yes. So you would put a solo mid there.
Can you not still do that with the IO?
And then you would pull. I think you can. I think it's just really hard.
Okay.
I don't know. EGM's over there. He can probably give me a nod if you can still do it. You can. Okay. So we know. I'm not a Wisp player, so I don't know if they completely fixed it, but...
Yeah, EGM's kind of good on the old fella, so we've got him for that kind of information. The third pick now for Hellraisers, it's the Disruptor. We see that pretty much picked up all the time against the IO Tiny. Anything with the IO.
It's good against Clock as well, for the same reason. As if he hooks you, you glimpse him out, suddenly he's just off in the middle of nowhere. You have a nice little defensive, you know, house that he's built for you that no one can touch you in, and then you just kill people. So it actually works out pretty well sometimes.
Indeed, and yeah, so the Clockwork was picked up, and I mean, against the Storm and the Treant, is there a reason why you necessarily get the Clock, or are you just getting it because it's a strong offlaner, and it kind of forces Hellraisers to really think about what they're going to put in the safe lane?
It's a strong initiator that is never bad to have initiation. That's the way that I see it. Is the more initiation you have, the more opportunities you've given yourself to either start an engagement or get a pick and then push into a tower.
Yeah.
So I like a lot of initiation personally, so I don't see anything wrong with picking the hero. My only concern is, as you've already mentioned, they have two heroes that pretty much don't care at all about Clockwork. The Storm will ball out of any cog that you put down, and then Disruptor can just glimpse you out if you're going to get a kill. The only difference is that if it's Tree and Disruptor together, both of those supports, if they're alone, the Disruptor can live, but the Tree, if the Clockwork is carrying dust or something, can't. And
I mean, the Tree with the Living Armor, doesn't that help you quite a bit against Battery Assault, would you say? Because of the length of it, it doesn't really matter.
It's very good, but they also have Tiny and Wisp. If you remember, Avalanche does incremental damage, so it kind of removes Living Armor very quickly, and you also have Wisp Spirits on top of that. So they do have a nice instance of damage that will be able to kill. And if you plan on following up your Clockwork pick with a Skywrath, then the Storm suddenly can't get out of your cogs unless he has BKB. So the combination of the heroes in of itself is really strong.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you were saying again, if Treant was against the Storm, of course, we'll be looking to build the Orchid. On a kind of the draft that basically Unknown have, you've not got any Orchid kind of, well, people that you'd expect to pick up the Orchid. So the Scarif does that job with the Ancient Seal. You're going to be able to gank and shut down the Treant and stop him from being able to sneak away under the cover of Nature's Skies. Queen of Pain is the pickup. And with the Storm Spirit, I mean, do you expect we'll see the Queen of Pain in the mid, Storm Spirit in the safe, or
I think it'll be F and NJ on Queen and then Artes on the Storm. That's my assumption. If you do it that way, it means that your supports can kind of go wherever they want, which is nice, because Queen, even against a dual lane, if it's Wisp Tiny, you'll take some harass for some toss spam or a couple of avalanches, but you should never really die. And if the Skywrath tries to gank, you're going to have Tree and Armor on top of that. So I think it's going to be relatively difficult for basically Unknown to get some kills until they get some levels up. Okay, so now final pick for the side of Hellraisers. If we're going to go with what we were believing, they still need their offlaner. And what's left in the pool that they could seriously think about here? I mean, the ban out from Sand King did come from basically Unknown. I mean, what do you think they were worried about? An SK offlane, or did they think something else in terms of the lineup? Wow, that's greedy. Okay.
Ooh. Okay, so I guess Queen of Pain offlane, Storm in the mid, or?
They're going to go with Queen of Pain offlane, it looks like.
Yeah. Which is weird, because we were saying earlier, Afro Ninja is very good on the co-op. Final pick, of course, for the side of Unknown was surprisingly the Magnus. They managed to slip it through the entire draft. Arise will get himself his hands onto the
they're going to go aggro. Okay, that's their plan. So they're going to have Tree, Disruptor, Luna, aggro lane, which is fairly strong. I don't think anything that basically Unknown fields right now could even contest that lane. So it could work out very well for them. I mean, their tri-lane would be what? Wisp, Skywrath, and Tiny. That lane's okay, but I don't think it can kill anyone. And if you're looking at it in terms of just experience gain, basically Unknown want the experience gain more because they're more reliant on the Skywrath ulti and they're more reliant on Relocate to get any control of the map. So I think what HR are thinking is, okay, we'll just go aggro and we'll try to keep those heroes at the very least in one spot and under-leveled to ensure that we get 2 1 versus 1 matchups that we feel comfortable with. So in the safe lane, it's going to be Queen versus Clock. Queen crushes that. Like, Clockwork's not going to be able to do much of anything. And then middle lane, it will probably end up being Storm versus Magnus, which is a little bit more even, but the Storm should not have any problems farming. And that means that 2 free farming cores, you keep the tri-lane of basically Unknown under-leveled, and that's worse for them than your supports being under-leveled, in my opinion. So, I mean, when they see this aggressive tri-lane, do you think it would make sense for Unknown to react by sending the Tiny and IO to the mid lane and doing something different, or is it best to kind of stick it out? I think you kind of just stick it out, because if you start doing musical lanes, you lose out on even more experience, and you're just kind of wandering around, not really doing anything. So basically Unknown could try to make the best of a bad situation, and maybe they can just send the Wisp mid to try to do a pull or 2, just to gain some advantage that way. That would be the most ideal way. If you look at HR, their lane is scary because you can't fight into it, but they can't necessarily kill you either unless you make a mistake. So if you're just sitting there and you're soaking EXP and that you're farming against it a little bit, then that's fine. And you can just put the Wisp towards mid and try to get some extra experience by not putting all 3 heroes in the safe lane. I think that would probably be the safest call. Although you run the risk of HR realizing this and just trying to dive you, which can happen as Luna is super fast. And if you have a Boots Treant who gets 1 leech seed on you, it can be death. I mean, talking about the Luna, what is up with the Luna? We see their 2.2% pick in 6.83, but it certainly feels like recently we've seen the hero more. Teams like NIP, Era likes to pick it up. We've also seen, I believe, Empire recently had some success with her in MLG Columbus in one of the matches. Why have we not seen her a lot, and why are we seeing her more now? And is it only in these games where there isn't a Troll Warlord? For me, this hero was picked as something that adds to the push. Okay. If you look at HR's lineup, none of their heroes really kill towers. But just by having a Luna, the max level of Lunar Blessing, it gives 38 damage, which is pretty substantial, right? I mean, that's like giving everyone like almost a demon edge, if you want to call it that. So the damage output that you get from just having the hero in general is great. And if they wanted to have the purpose of just doing an aggressive tri-lane, when they saw that it was going to be Skywrath, Wisp, and Tiny, that hero makes your tri-lane a lot stronger. Your harass is significant because you hit already for 14 more damage at level 1. And then you have a 1 ranged hero who can do the harass of basically both the heroes combined on the side of basically Unknown. So it doesn't necessarily matter that Luna is not really a ranged hero because she's going to be up against a melee farmer. So in this case, you have Tree and Armor, who also has boots and can get a leech seed off, and you deal way too much damage for basically Unknown to contest at the early stage. So I think it's one of those niche situations where the Luna is probably going to end up winning her lane really hard, which used to not be the case because people were so used to seeing it, so they would prepare for that. But nobody really prepares for a Luna pick nowadays. So I think HR kind of got maybe a leg up here in the laning phase.
And the strong thing about Luna as well, one of those heroes that really does rely on picking up the BKB, and we're seeing nowadays a lot of skills, they do pierce magic immunity. Against Unknown's lineup, I mean, you've got the hook shot and the RP, but other than that, Tiny and
you'll need BKB.
Yeah,
Absolutely,
I mean, the BKB is going to be great because there isn't that much that's going to go through it.
Well, the RP, like you said, is the only thing, and a clockwork hook shot onto Luna is not the dream. You don't hook shot Luna if her ulti's off cooldown because you just die. And if you know she has a BKB, then there's even less reason, as we see both teams here vying for some positional advantage in the woods.
Indeed. And are they going to be able to find anything here? We see Luna heading closer and closer to the Tiny. They're just forcing old Nico back. But we're into the game. Let's introduce the teams. On the side of the Radiant, basically unknown, we are going to have... Oh, Jesus, what is... Insolent? Insolent.
Yeah. Insolent. As
Insolent.
Yes.
On the Skyriff Maze, taking a few hits from the Luna. It's going to be Nico Baby on that Tiny in the safe lane. He's going to be backed up by Pure Evil itself on the IO. Mid lane will be Arise on his signature Magnus, and on the off lane it's going to be Mind Control on the Clockwork. I'm Odu Pixel. I'm here with Draskell, and Draskell, give me a lowdown what's going on the side of the Dire.
All right, so we got Dread. He's going to be handling this Queen of Pain. Towards middle lane, it's going to be Affinche playing the Storm, so they had a little bit of a role swap there. But Gorak, he's going to be playing on the Tree and Protector. We're going to have Goddamn on the Disruptor, and of course that leaves their role 1 player, Artes, playing the Luna.
Okay, and we're seeing at the moment, Tree heading straight forward is going to get a few hits from the Scarif Mage tethered up by the Io. And I mean, talking about the lanes, talking about the 2 solo laners on the side of Hellraisers, in the fact that they've got the Queen of Pain in the safe lane and the Storm in the mid, is there a reason why they do it that way round rather than the other way round?
Yeah, because the matchup of Storm versus Clockwork is a lot worse. The Storm has to walk into melee range to use Remnant. So every time you would do that to go for CS and try to get some kind of lane push going, you would essentially put yourself at risk of getting cog spammed. And if that happens, the Clockwork can actually kill the Storm if you're playing recklessly. So you need to be very aware in that matchup. A Queen can just blink out even in the worst situation possible. So there's no way that that Queen should die. I like the fact that HR decided to make this switch in the first place and just go for a greedier composition. I feel like their picks in the early laning phase are going to be very difficult for basically Unknown to deal with.
Bottom lane, goddamn indeed, getting caught out by an avalanche. The right click and the arcane bolt's going to be enough for first blood. They're going to Insolent, and well, that's not what you want to happen in an aggressive tri lane.
I don't know why he was walking forward. That's the thing that kind of puzzles me. He has level 1 Thunderstrike, so the only reason he could possibly be walking forward is to try to harass, but Nico hadn't used any spells. So giving away a first blood in a lane that you should be winning on paper, that's really bad news. And as soon as that death happens, HR already have left to go for the bottom rune as a 2-minute spawns, but usually these lanes are decided in the first couple of levels. So if basically Unknown get another kill, suddenly the Tiny and the Skywrath are like level 2 or level 3. Then this lane becomes almost unwinnable for HR. They're supposed to have the advantage at level 1 and 2, but they've kind of squandered that already by just giving away a kill. So we'll see how it goes.
So with the Luna in this aggressive position, in the aggressive tri lane, do you feel we'll see a point in the game where the Luna kind of hangs back and focuses on farming, or is this going to be a very, very aggressive kind of game for Hellraisers where they'll constantly look to be pushing and fighting?
The nice thing about their lineup is that even if their tri lane goes poorly, they have 2 cores that can be aggressive. Queen and Storm together, the potential for roaming is really high. So you can have the Queen TP bottom, blank throughout an ulti, go for a kill. Storm can essentially do the same thing. And again, both of those lanes should go reasonably well for Hellraisers. It's just really shocking to see that the tri lane, they actually lose the Disruptor when, in my opinion, there's no way they should have lost hero the way that this lane matches up.
Yeah, well, the Pop Kinetic failed down. It isn't going to catch the Skyrath. Nico Baby actually trying to go in, has enough mana for the Avalanche and the toss. And maybe they go for something here. Leech Seed onto the Io. Io's getting himself right out of there. Nico with the Avalanche onto 3. Artes getting fairly low. He's got enough mana for toss, but he will get taken down there from the punches from the tree. So now we're starting to see the strength of this aggressive tri lane in the sense that basically, I know they try to go for a kill, but they don't get away with it.
Kind of made a mistake going for the Luna, I feel. You don't have boots. Luna has boots. She's 380 movement speed. There's almost no way, even with tether speed, that a Tiny is going to be able to catch her. Like, it's just not fast enough. So going for the Disruptor is the right play, just because the Disruptor has the same amount of health as the Luna, but is 80 movement speed slower. you really want to go for the hero that's easier to catch in this lane. So Nico making a bit of a mistake there. He landed a nice double stun, but as soon as that happened, he should have just been happy with the fact that he didn't lose a hero. You know, he can just walk away from it, but unfortunately for basically Unknown, that was not the case.
Arise and Alpha Ninja having a little bit of a tiffle here by the top rune. Arise will find the bounty, and we'll be able to back off. Alpha Ninja is going to be liquorless as he can't fill up his bottle. Bottom lane again. This two kind of tri-lanes against tri-lanes. Looking at the CS1. In fact, look at the glimpse. In fact, bringing the Skyriff back into the kinetic field. Nico Baby gets a nice avalanche onto 2. Goretz, he's got himself a haste rune coming in with the punches. Thunderstrike onto the Skyriff mage. He should be all right. Hellraisers won't find anything this time with the aggression. But looking at the CS so far for them, 16 CS on the Luna compared to the 11 on the Tiny. So even in this aggressive situation, the Luna's having the better time in terms of farm.
Just a difference of having a little bit more base damage on your supports and being ranged comparative to melee. This is the way the lane should be going. It's expected that this tri-lane of HR is going to be beating out basically Unknowns. And even just getting that harass on the Skywrath, forcing him out of the lane, it gives more of an advantage to HR's tri-lane because it's just more time that the Tiny is not able to freely contest the farm.
Mid lane, Arise and Alpha Ninja both getting fairly low. Then comes the bottle back for Arise, so he'll be able to top himself at 1-for-1 at the moment. The off-lane clock finding the levels, and not, to be fair, not finding too little CS. He's got about just over 15 at the moment. Bottom lane, there looks to be a bit of a fight into the jungle, and Scarif Mage will find the kill onto the tree, and Io and Tiny, though they are trapped in the kinetic field, Io will be popped. Nico Baby trying to chase down Artez. He has got the mana for the toss. In fact, there we go. Tossing forward the Scarif. Scarif hasn't got any mana to throw anything else out, and Artez will be able to get away. But really, concussive shot does come through, but the living armor will be more than enough to keep Artez alive. So it's a 1-for-1 trade. Luna getting forced out of the lane, though. Tiny will be able to remain in lane and continue to farm.
The big issue that basically Unknown are going to run into soon is Ninja is now level 6. The Queen is also level 6 and has treads, almost level 7. And the Clockwork is being zoned out so hard that he's only level 5. The level difference can be huge here because all it takes is one good rotation from HR and they're going to be able to kill almost every single person in that aggressive tri-lane coming out from their team. So you need to be very careful. Like, you need a lane ward, in my opinion. Oh, and they already have one down. Okay, so that's good. But there's going to be a glimpse here onto this.
Straight onto Io, and Io getting blown up again by this aggressive tri-lane. Nico throws an avalanche back, but it's not enough to save his little bally fellow. 3 for 2, and Io, I mean, at this point, what do you do as the side of basically Unknown? You're obviously having trouble finding anything from the bottom lane, but you can't really rotate with heroes like Io and Skywrath, can you?
You can. It's just that you need to smoke, and you need to hope that you can get a nice RP. Arise can set it up by RPing for you, and then you Ancient Seal on top of it. They can definitely kill the Storm. It's not a question of that. The only problem is, if you're having an aggressive tri-lane and the supports leave, it becomes super obvious. Nice hookshot coming out here from Mind Control, but he doesn't have the mana to Cog.
Yeah, might be in trouble now, because Dread has got the ultimate available. He's got Blink again in 6 seconds. He's only got 1 stick charge, though, so the mana is not going to be there for the full nuke combo. Will hang back and keep himself safe. Mid lane, we did see a movement from Disruption Trian in the river at the moment, now into the Radiant Jungle. Both the Tiny and Io hanging around by the pool camp. We see Scarif hanging around in the mid, looking for some kind of action, as you were saying, onto the Storm Spirit. Storm Spirit actually looks for action straight onto Scarif and might be able to blow him up. Indeed he will. Does get caught out by the Ancient Seal and the RP. Can they find the return kill? Alpha Ninja, the living armor's helping him out. The Arise with the body blocks. But it might not matter. Arise getting fairly low. Goddamn's coming in as well with the right clicks. Arise will find the kill onto the Storm. TP's out. Will they be able to bring him back? Yes, they will. They've got the glimpse, but he's got the bottle charges. Leech Seed is there. Goretz needs a couple of punches. Maybe Goretz loses his life as well as Mind Control comes in with a rotation. Trian and Storm going down there. Very nice reaction from basically Unknown.
Arise with the sick plays. Just unfortunate that the glimpse came after he already got to the well because it filled his bottle, and then he came back with a full bottle which was previously empty and managed to live through the damage output. And I'm not entirely sure, does level 1 Leech Seed even break bottle? I don't think it does.
I don't believe, no it doesn't. I'm pretty sure it doesn't, in fact. I don't think the damage ticks are enough.
So he just gets to free bottle when he comes back. That's pretty legit, actually. So
Blink Dagger 8 minutes in. Not bad against a Storm mid.
Well, it's expected that both of those heroes free farm, because Storm isn't a hero who can bully Magnus out of lane, and he certainly can't get a solo kill, at least not that way. So I figured both of these heroes would get a lot of CS, but Arise is definitely winning now because he got that kill on Ninja, and even though he traded like a support for a core, obviously for basically no, that's better.
Top lane, we see the Queen of Pain continuing to farm. Bottom lane, the rest of her side of Hellraisers getting ready to push down onto the tier 1. In the tree line, though, see 3 of them, but there they go. The Remnant's going to scout them out. Storm zipping straight in. Goretz is there as well. 4 heroes now reacting from basically unknown Goretz. Ancient sealed up. In comes the Rise with the Magnus Steward, bringing Goretz back into their side of the map. He'll be the first to fall in this fight. Io very, very low, trying to bottle up. Will not be enough. Does go down. It is a 1-for-1 trade so far. Is there going to be any more action happening? Quap coming in. Dread with the burst damage onto Nico. Gets Ancient sealed up straight away. Rise, he's bottled up. Is he going to think about going back into this one? I don't know. Artes has got the ultimate available. I'm just short of the mana to do so now, but will back up. But 1-for-1 trade overall. Mind Control continuing to find farm in the mid lane. Queen of Pain did have to react and TP down to the bottom. That's going to give some space for the Treant on the top lane to find his level 6 and start to work towards that very, very late Aghanim Scepter that we will expect to see the Treant pick up.
Aghanims is going to be very annoying for basically Unknown. Having that vision, it's even more effective against the lineup that is looking for ganks all the time. So Arise is going to want his RP. You're going to have to be worrying about relocates. But if you always know where the Wisp and Tiny is, then you can just go and gank them directly, which is usually the best way to deal with that combo. Because if you gank anyone else, you have to assume that the relocate can be coming, and then you have to fight 2 extra heroes. Even with a Disruptor, I still think it's the better play to just try to gank the Wisp and a Tiny, but here we go, middle lane. Gonna see a kill on the Io again. Not really having a fantastic game.
No, not at all. Io, I believe, was trying to find the level 6. What kind of level are we seeing on the Io at the moment? Is she still just at level 4? So, yeah, tries to look for some solo XP in the mid lane, and it doesn't pay off. Alpha Ninja with the kill there. Arise returning to mid has got the RP available. Clockwork is also in the nearby neighborhood. Hookshot online. Maybe they can use this combination of the ultimates to find another kill onto the Storm Spirit. Storm Spirit playing it safe though, backs off into the jungle, and especially with Skyra thinking about TPing in, but they realize that the Storm's backed off, and so Skyra will cancel the TP. Mind Control with an Invis rune, tracking down Afo Ninja. Maybe they could go for a kill here. Magnus Arise still farming in the mid lane. Looks like he doesn't want to try and commit. With the hook shot and RP lockdown, would that not be enough to kill the Storm?
I think you need more. Yeah. He has strength treads on a lot of the time when he's walking around, so the damage isn't there, but their damage is bottom. Yeah, indeed. Sure.
Straight away, Nico Baby and Pure Evil going in with the 1-2 combo. Static Storm does catch them out, brings them fairly low, but Pure Evil should be able to keep Nico Baby healthy with the bottle charges. And now the push onto the bottom lane in the jungle at the same time. Mind Control finds a solo kill onto the Storm, so I'm only guessing the Storm was zipping around the jungle camps, must have let himself get very low in terms of mana, and a solo kill for the Clockwork.
He had an Invisor and he just followed him around until FNJ had expended enough mana to where he felt comfortable trying to go in and RP on bottom lane as well.
Yeah, well, we were talking about it earlier on the sofa. Early game, when you've got the RP online, using it for the solo kills.
And in the woods, Skork. There's just death everywhere.
Wow, Mind Control, he's having a great time in the dire jungle. I don't think he'll be heading back to the base anytime soon. Tread's picked up now, and after a lane against the Quap, which wasn't very nice, he's being rewarded in the form of kills. 3 kills and 1 assist, hasn't died a single time in this 12-minute game.
HR should still be the ones who are able to push their advantage, though. Like, their laning phase went reasonably well for them. The Clockwork was super underleveled comparative to what Dread had. His bottom Athaninche going kind of all in here on the Tiny.
Nico Baby fairly low. Afaninja coming in, gets caught out by the Avalanche. Clockwork is here with the backup, and he comes straight in. Can he find the kill on Afaninja? Afaninja's out of mana, has a bottle charge or 2. He's even topped up with the battery assault. Is this going to be another kill for Mind Control? No, it's not, because Tiny will find the final punch. But at this moment in time, Clockwork really making the plays for the side of basically Unknown.
They're getting outmaneuvered so hard. The thing with Clockwork is you always have to respect his solo kill potential. And he had been missing for ages, even before Afaninja died. So I don't expect him to assume that the Clockwork has Invis, but the fact that they have been caught out so many times, isolated, when the Disruptor is either not around or trying to make something happen bottom, it's just kind of weird, because that playstyle is very common for Clockworks. Like, they always go in the woods and they hunt. They look for the solo kills, because they realize HR are going to send the Treant or the Disruptor somewhere to get some EXP, so they can get their max level living armor and their overgrowth, for example, or they can get the Static Storm going. So Unknown are playing extremely well, and the Clockwork has been making a ton of space. Now the Wisp is also level 6, so they have Relocate available. They still have a Blink RP. It's still anyone's game at this point, but it's going to be all down to the initiation.
And talking about initiation, Dread blinking very aggressively forward, will find the Tiny, pops the ultimate. Nico Baby gets glimpsed back into the Stag Storm, but they already casted Relocate, so he will be safe for the time being. Mind Control coming in with the battery assault, they will lose the Scarif Mage. Alpha Ninja under the cover of Ancient Seal has the Living Armor charges, keeping him alive, will pop the Soul Ring and zips out of the cogs. It's a 1-for-1 trade so far, maybe more. Mind Control gets tossed forward towards Alpha Ninja. Goretz and Goddamn are there with the defense. Mind Control getting seeded up by the Treant. Treant chasing them down. Avalanche will catch out, and Alpha Ninja with a toss. That should be a dead Storm Spirit. Dominating streak now for the Tiny. Mind Control, he's tethered up. Hasn't got the hookshot available again, but does have battery assault if he wants to try and chase these guys down. Arise, got the RP, has the blink. Can he look for anything onto Goretz? And goddamn, doesn't want to try diving the tower as of yet. But again, another favorable bit of action for basically Unknown and another kill onto the Storm Spirit.
Getting hugely outplayed at every single fight. It's kind of crazy. FNJ is being super over-aggressive with how he uses his mana. He just goes in completely hard and uses like 80% of it to try to get a kill, and then goes, oh, well, I can't get this anymore, now I have to run. Or he commits for a support, which sometimes you want to do as middle lane. Gonna see an RP. Oh, okay, he's dead. Yeah,
RP
later.
Into the Mystic Flare, does get skewered out, but that's because Magnus wants to make sure that he finds the kill, and indeed he will. Killing spree now for the Magnus, 13-7. And I mean, we were talking about the favorable laning stage for Hellraisers, but basically Unknown, they're just turning the whole game on its head. Now, I think if we look at the net worth and the XP graph, we can expect to see a really big swing indeed. Yeah, for the most first 10 minutes, it was in favor of the side of Hellraisers. Goddamn, though, in trouble. Nico Baby with the toss. He will get put under the cover of Nature's Guise, and Goddamn will be able to back out of this. It's still 13-7. I mean, what do Hellraisers do in a situation like this?
Their team relied so much on snowballing with the Storm and the Queen because they were going to win their lanes, or at the very least go even, and then they just start rotating to bottom, or they try to make solo kills happen, right? But the fact of the matter is, basically Unknown are playing way better. They're just finding the openings that they need. And because HR are playing from behind, Queen and Storm are terrible heroes from behind because you have to initiate and then you just die because the damage output on the side of Unknown is very high because the Skywrath is now level 6. I think he's even higher than that right now. I think, yeah, he's level 7. So he's got 3 points in Ancient Seal. No one on the side of HR is anywhere near BKB. So if I'm HR, I'm thinking plan B is try to delay the game. Maybe your Luna can get some decent farm and you try to fight when you have BKBs.
Yeah, mid lane arrives straight in onto Alpha Ninja. The Ancient Seal will be there to follow up another kill onto this Storm Spirit. Storm is not having a great game. Tier 1 will go down in the mid lane to the side of basically Unknown. Fortification will be there to buy it sometime, but it looks like Hellraisers, they're in no position to try and defend this. They're trying to look for a little bit of their own aggression onto the bottom lane Tier 1. But Fortification will come out and maybe basically Unknown can defend this. Yeah, TP in from Arise on the Magnus. Clockwork coming towards the lane from the river as well. Has got the hook shot off cooldown. Goretz and Dread playing it safe. Artez, a little bit on his own here. There's the hook shot. Artez, I don't know what the plan was here. He has got the ultimate, but I don't know if he's going to be able to turn this one around. No, he won't. And Luna, for most of the last 10 minutes, has been in the jungle farming. Decides for some reason or whatever to come out and walk into that.
No idea what he was doing there, to be honest. If you look at the map, he didn't even have vision anywhere on that side of the map. All the vision right now from HR is either the top rune spot or the lane ward top. They have put wards there specifically to let that Luna farm. Yeah. And he just goes, it's fine, I'll just walk into all the heroes in the map are gone, no vision to high ground. It's no big deal. Obviously a very big mistake, but the overall game plan right now for HR should be stop dying. It's that simple. You cannot die anymore. The more you die, the less of a chance you have for your heroes like Queen and Storm to actually become useful, because right now neither one of them have really done much of anything. And I think the coordination right now in HR has just been a little off. Every single team fight, they just don't have quite enough in the tank to get through the fight, or not all the heroes they need are there, and RP on bottom.
Oh boy, they smoke up, close the gap. RP, Ancient Seal, that combination blowing up the Luna. 16-7, consistently, basically Unknown, coming out with the plays, and the Hellraisers, they just don't have an answer for it at this point.
They are still farming reasonably well on their 3 cores, but the Tiny has Aghanims, and this is in a lane where he wasn't supposed to be that successful. So you compare that to what Dread has. I mean, he's got a Yules, which is okay to remove the silence of the Skywrath, of course. There's nothing wrong with that. Just that the net worth difference is pretty staggering, considering the fact that this is a hero who should have had the hardest time in the game and has the highest net worth of anybody. And by the way, Empowered Tiny is terrifying.
Certainly is as well, with a nicely landed RP. That is going to be a team falling very, very quickly. Skyrim Mage, maybe this is going to be the first questionable play we've seen in a while from Basically Unknown on his own here. And Dread blinks in. Storm joins the fun as well, using off the Ancient Seal. There's going to be relocating, but they're into the static storm and kinetic field. Io will go down. Nico Baby in potentially a lot of trouble. Will find the kill onto Dread, but may pay with his life. No, mind control, the hook shot. Beautiful. Will get glimpsed back, so won't be able to do anything more here. Rise has arrived on the Magnus to be able to clear up the Disruptor. Double kill for Nico Baby. What a hook shot from the Clockwork there to save the Tiny and allow him to get that double kill.
A couple of very nice plays from both teams, actually. Goddamn getting the Storm and the static, or the kinetic field down before the relocate had even been there, so he understood exactly where they were coming in. And that's just the power of a Disruptor against that combo, but still, Nico Baby is huge. He's got 2,000 HP, Aghanim's treads, and like 3,000 gold almost. His bottom, we're seeing some potential dive here, but I don't think they'll be able to do it. Oh,
Artez pops the ultimate onto the Blade Mail. Mind Control says, thank you very much for the kill. Goretz throws down the lead seed, but he might be able to live through this one, Mind Control. I think he will. Goretz will not be as lucky. Clockwork walks out of there, and that's why you don't Lunar Ult Blade Mailed Clock. It doesn't really work out, does it, Jasper?
Yeah, the fact that he has so much farm in comparison to the Luna. Normally, if the Clockwork is in a normal lane, if you have like ball in. Wisp, is he going to go down here?
Ooh, I think he might. He has not got relocate available for 10 seconds. And that will be a kill there for AFO-Ninja. But, I mean, it's funny we talk about AFO-Ninja on the Storm and Artez on the Luna. We're talking about it on the sofa, how these two cores, they need to perform if they want to win. And it doesn't feel like they're performing this game.
I don't know. AFO-Ninja, his decision-making has been a little bit weird to me. The way that he fully commits no matter what. Even if he knows that there's other heroes off the map missing, he still says, I want to go in for this kill, and I want to make sure that I get it, even at the cost of my own life, which a lot of times on some heroes can be okay. But you have to realize he's only killing supports. Like, he hasn't killed a core, I think, this entire game. So you're trading your life for a hero who is worth less than you. And that can just become like a detrimental thing if you keep doing it. So like once or twice is fine, but I think every single time he's died, it's because he's committed for a support kill. So it's just a little bit of a gameplay problem, I think, for him. But they have a chance to recover. There's no doubt about that. He's almost got his Orchid up, so he's about 500 away. If HR can kind of stem the bleeding for a while, get a couple of good kills on the board, they can easily turn the game. But it's just, their lineup is not supposed to be behind at this stage. It's supposed to be ahead.
Absolutely not. We see that, members are basically in a grouping up. They will do a 5-man smoke here. Rise, level 12, has got that RP available. 2.4k gold in the bank on top of the Blink Dagger. Over on the side of Hellraisers, goddamn, he is out on his own. He's got a little bit of de-warding. It's all very nice and dandy for the Disruptor until he maybe gets caught out here. There we go. Hook shot into Ancient Seal. Disruptor will go down. Magnus with the blink forward and the shockwave. Very nicely to secure the kill. And what?
Jesus.
That's Shaquina Payne getting thrown up into the air and slapped in the backside by Nico Baby on the Tiny. Monster kill streak now. They'll look to take Roshannon with 2 heroes down on the side of Hellraisers. It'll be very, very hard for them to even think about contesting this. Maybe they look for a cheeky little steal with the Storm Spirit. Storm Spirit keeping himself out of harm's way. And indeed, they do have that Radiant Ward. Then,
the biff. Don't worry, Rise. Nobody saw it. You're still like the best Magnus player. It's no big deal.
Yeah, it was a zoning RP, and it's done the job. I don't think Storm's going to look to steal the Aegis after that little bit of action.
No, they scared him pretty bad there. I mean, I would at least be terrified.
He was spooked from that.
He's even got a Shadow Blade now, so he's got Blink Shadow Blade on the mag. He's level 13. Unknown, or basically unknown, like Arise and this Clockwork, Mind Control have played completely out of their minds. The tri-lane went reasonably well, considering the circumstances. I don't think they were meant to win that lane, and they still ended up getting first blood, so all things considered, good news. They've just been kind of rolling the entire time. Ever since that Clockwork had a bit of a rough laning phase, he didn't let it affect him. He landed some really good hook shots, and he put his team in a fantastic position. Like, Mind Control for me has been pretty much the team's MVP of this game.
I mean, look at it, right? So the Shadow Blade, you're obviously quite far ahead. Is that the reason you pick it up, just to make the other team poorer in terms of the fact that they're going to have to buy detection?
The thing about Shadow Blade is that when you have really good control of the map and you're sieging tier 2s and such, it does make the other team buy detection. But the bigger thing is you can bypass wards without having to buy smoke. So if you try to gank somebody and it doesn't work, you kind of have a sense for where the ward could be placed. And the threat of a Shadow Blade on a lane, if they see it in your inventory, the enemy team automatically plays differently because they have to assume that if you're off the map, you could be ganking somebody. And that's kind of a problem, as this tier 3 is getting completely annihilated by Nico.
Gretz throwing the leech seed down onto Nico Baby. They do have the overgrowth available as well, but there goes your tier 3. And Tiny on the front lines, maybe looking for more. There's going to be a wraparound from Alpha Ninja, who has got a double damage, but the double damage isn't going to do anything when you're double dead. Arise with the skewer, finishing that off. And at the same time, Io and Tiny do get caught out by a static storm. They do find the kill, though, onto the Treant. Godlike double kill.
Jeez.
Now for Nico Baby. There's your RP onto Artez. Artez is down. It's a full 5-man team wipe. 23, 24 minutes in. They're onto the racks. Basically unknown. They came into this game as the technical underdogs. 25%, I believe, were the odds of them winning. But if they continue playing to this level, it's going to be very hard for Hellraisers to do anything against them this series.
The Clockwork did so much work. Arise had a great game as well, not taking anything away from him. He farmed great. He had that really sick glimpse play in middle lane where he realized that he got bottle charges. A lot of players probably would have missed that and just died, but he bottles up, gets a counter kill on the Storm that was pretty lane changing for him because that essentially secured his Blink Dagger. And then between the two of them, they just completely dismantled Hellraisers. There was nothing that they could do at any stage. And I think it was a really big mistake to be split up as much as HR were. Because if you try to fight early game against Clockwork and you're just split all over the map and you know that he gets a 1v1, even in the worst matchup, he will be 6 before any of your supports can do anything about him, which happened to be the case in this game. And he even gets a solo kill on a Storm as well on the Woods because of the Invis rune. So the off lane in the mid, where HR is supposed to have the most success with their team, they got completely dominated. So fantastic game from basically unknown. Very impressive.
Tiny is just ridiculously fun now. He's 25 minutes in. He's closing in on the recipe for his AC. On top of the Ag, Samantha, and Treads. And of course, with the Aegis under his belt, you just don't kill the guy. 10 kills has only been taken down once, but that was at the very, very start of the game. Tier 2 taking an insane amount of damage will go down. And I'm pretty sure, basically, I know they're ready to try and take it to the high ground again. Magnus hasn't got the RP available as of yet. How long until it's back available? 8 seconds, so they are good to go indeed. Magnus picking up the Oblivion Star for Rice, of course, working towards that Refresher's Orb. And to the high ground they go. Nico Baby onto the tier 3s. What do they do? What can Hellraisers do to stop this? I mean, Goddamn is there, has got the Static Storm available. It's not going to do too much against this team, though, because the rest of the team are going to be there with the reaction. We see them positioning themselves on the high ground, ready to jump forward if any kind of aggression comes out from Hellraisers. And they're just playing it cool, keeping themselves positioned so they're able to... Oh, here we go. Shadowblade from Arise on the Magnus. Is he going to look to sneak up to the high ground? There is no tier 3, so the chances are that I'm going to have any detection. Oh, and there's your RP onto 2. Goddamn, and Goretz getting brought back. Static Storm will get thrown down, but it doesn't matter. They've already lost the Disrupt to the Tree. Tree will buy back. Luna doing a fair bit of damage here, bringing them low. Mind Control will go down. Drek gets used up, but he gets a shockwave through himself as he comes back down to the ground. Goretz did buy back. He's very low. Artez, negative Earn Shadow Charge, will send him packing back to base. Avalanche finds the kill. There's a triple kill for this Tiny. Make that an ultra kill. This could be a rampage as well. Let him get the rampage, lads. Come on, Nico Baby coming through with the rampage. What a way to finish the game. Potentially 26 minutes in. There's no... Well, hello, Alpha Ninja trying to go for a little bit of a cheeky play here with the zip. Is he able to find a kill? No, it's not. Maybe game over yet. Oh, okay, it's a double rampage. That's the game over.
Triple? Triple?
Yeah, triple rampage.
Okay, so it turns out Empowered Tiny with a Wisp does a terrifying amount of damage, for those of you who didn't know. He was hitting for 450 damage with an AC, a Manta, and an Aghanims at 27 minutes into the game.
It's just a combination of... Yeah, obviously they played very well, but I think it's still just down to the draft. The fact they let Tiny and Io get through, and they let Arise pick up the Magnus last in the draft. I mean, do you think next game, Hellraisers need to come in and think, we need to ban out the Io, we need to ban out the Magnus?
The biggest problem for me wasn't even the heroes that they had. It was just the play. They just got outplayed. And when you get outplayed, you can't blame the draft, because all the movement from Mind Control was great. He found so many kills on his own. And that's what Clockwork is supposed to do, but not quite on that scale. He made the game complete hell for the Hellraisers. So it's like, how can you let that happen? I don't know. It felt really strange because the tri-lane from HR was supposed to be much more dominant. That one kill on Goddamn when he was playing Disruptor, he like walks forward. And then it's just like, you cannot die in a lane that you're supposed to win. That lane should have completely crushed, and it didn't really do much of anything. It stopped the Tiny's farm a tiny bit. Didn't mean to make that pun. But at the end of the day, the Queen and the Storm were supposed to be the saviors, right? They're supposed to come in with the ball lightning and the blinks and the scream of pain and the ulti and turn the game, and it just never happened. So, yeah.
Well, basically unknown. They really are coming out with the plays, and the performance was absolutely on point. Hellraisers just underperforming a little bit in that first game. But it is, of course, a best of 3. We will be back with game 2 very, very shortly, myself and Draskell. But first of all, to a few commercials and then over to our panel. We'll see you guys in a bit.